Now, a high court in Namibia has struck down laws criminalizing sexual acts between men. Sex between women is not illegal in Namibia. The laws dated back to the 1920s when Namibia was administered by South Africa. In its ruling, the country's court said banning same-sex acts was unconstitutional.
The ruling has been celebrated by Namibia's LGBT community. For them, the decision marks the start of a new era. The case was brought by local activist Friedel Dausab with the support of an NGO in London.
For me personally, it means that my life will never be a crime again. For the past 30 years, as a gay man, we've always been criminals on the run. Today, the court has declared this as unconstitutional.
The law criminalising sex between men dated back to the colonial era. It was rarely enforced, but it meant many gay men lived in fear of arrest. It also fueled discrimination.
The LGBTQ community are in need of a beacon of hope because we are living in a climate of fear from state-sanctioned homophobia and hate speech.
The judgment may represent a victory for gay men and their allies, but some fear it could also cause a backlash. Lawmakers are already pushing for legislation outlawing gay and lesbian marriage, and large segments of Namibian society remain deeply conservative.
Being a Christians and the ruling is opposite, and in a country of Christianity countries is so disturbing because we have to think about the future of our children, how it's going to happen in futures to come.
Fortunately for the activists, the judges said even if a majority of Namibians held such views, this would not justify making sex between men a crime.
Friedel Dausab, who successfully challenged that law in Namibia, now joins us from Swakopmund. Friedel, welcome to the program. So what does the lifting of this ban mean for you personally?
It's an elation. It's 30 years worth of advocacy and activism, first engaging with government, and in 2021, a decision by the LGBT community and me putting up my hand to say that it is time that we do litigation now and approach the courts to see whether this law remains constitutional after the fall of apartheid and colonialism some 30 years ago. And so happiness all around for me. Really happy that my life will no longer be regarded as a crime.
Right, so a 30-year personal journey as you've described, but do you think that this ruling is going to be enough to end discrimination and violence against the LGBTQ community in Namibia?
Not at all. In fact, it is a low bar. I always say it is a law that was supposed to have gone 30 years ago. We still have discrimination in employment and no express protection for sexual orientation in our employment law. We still have a domestic violence act that excludes same-sex couples as a domestic relationship. And we have a whole array of laws where there are no protections. What has happened with the removal of this law from the legal system is really just decriminalizing. What we need now is protective laws in employment, in health, in all sorts of laws, including marriage equality.
Right, so as you've mentioned, the queer community still doesn't enjoy some rights and protections, and we know that Namibia still criminalizes support, promotion, or even celebration of same-sex unions. Do you have any plans to challenge some of these laws as well?
Well, a little bit of correction. It is not criminalized. What is a bit of a worry, and where we do need international support at the moment, is that the parliament, after last year, when domicile rights were provided to foreign partners of Namibians married in legal jurisdictions like Germany or South Africa, are able to get a domicile. However, Parliament is proposing a law that is that has sailed through both houses of Parliament and is now sitting with a president that would outlaw same-sex marriage, but would also criminalize some solemnizing of same-sex marriages in Namibia. At the moment, fortunately, it is not a crime, but we do need international support and pressure to ensure that this law does not come into effect.
So, assuming the president does actually sign it into law, what would be the plan from activists such as yourself?
We will litigate. We know that there are protections from our constitution, that we have a promise of pursuit of happiness in the spirit of our constitution. But in Chapter 3, in the letters, we have protection that promises us privacy, dignity, and equality before the law. These were the provisions that we used to challenge the sodomy law. And we will continue to use the courts, which are the final arbiters of our constitution, to check whether our parliament is in line with the constitution, with the array of laws that they're planning for the LGBT community locally.
Right. So, Frido, Namibia has now joined several countries in particularly Southern Africa where queer people have successfully litigated for their rights. Do you think that this successful struggle in Namibia will inspire perhaps other African countries on the continent?
That is the hope. And we, if you do read the verdict of the sodomy challenge, it is really heartening that, for example, the judges on the panel thought that human rights of LGBT and minorities in general cannot be left to the populace or the majority, but it is the duty of the courts to ensure that the human rights of the weakest and the most vulnerable in our communities are protected by the courts as per our constitution. And so we stand strongly on constitutional provisions. We hope that other legal jurisdictions, for example, Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, are able to use the verdict and the reasoning and the logic of our courts to arrive at a more humane, more just, and better outcomes for the challenges in those countries mentioned before.
Frido Dausab joining us from Swakopmund in Namibia. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.